Joining me today is Jim Rubens, who's running for the U.S. Senate in the state of New Hampshire. Jim, one of the issues that you talked about was sort of government, the debt issue.
Right.
And as one of the primary drivers, I want to sort of step back and understand what you see as the dynamics involved in this issue. Really, what are the issues? And then what are the levers that the Senate, Congress can do to change the trajectory?
Right. Well, first, the Constitution gives Congress the power of the purse. Congress is the place where budgets are set, where tax rates are set, where the budget is either balanced or unbalanced. And we have a fiscal situation which is at the precipice. Just give you some green eye shade stuff. We're number 11 in the world in debt to GDP. In other words, our credit card is 11th most maxed out in the world among the nations.
So when you say 11th in the
11th
worst
highest,
way.
11th worst maxed out public credit card. And if you look at the last 16 months, I'm running against the incumbent, Senator Kelly-Att, who's voted for what's called the Cromnibus and Omnibus budget outlines, which have added $1.5 trillion to the national debt in just 16 months. This is reckless in the extreme. And it's up to Congress not to do this. Now this affects it. Again, it's green eye shade stuff. Debt, we can get away with doing. We can keep putting current spending on the credit card and nothing will happen. Well, something will happen. And if you look at countries that have done this, it ends in unpredicted fiscal chaos or currency chaos of some kind. So the Congressional Budget Office has predicted if we continue this voting pattern, we're going to be adding another $1 trillion a year to national debt over the next 10 years. So we're at the point right now of Congress needing to step up and balance the budget. Voters want smaller government. Government has become too big, too intrusive, too complicated, and all of this stuff needs to be dialed back so the private sector can operate again. Government is, and how does this affect the average American? Of course, when government is extremely intrusive, it prevents small, and I've started 10 of them, it prevents small businesses from being formed. We're seeing more businesses dying in America than being formed for the first time since World War II. This is horrible because jobs are created by growing small businesses. Number two, when you have debt, you have debt service. When you max out the credit card, you've got to pay the interest on it.
Right, and interest has been historically low, but it's ticking up.
It's been engineered to be low. We're heading into potentially negative interest rates. This is historic. Japan is in negative interest rates, parts of Europe.
But most economists predict a couple of rises in the rate this year.
It's hard to predict because we have an economy that is now run by the Federal Reserve Board by its having engineered QE1, QE2. What is QE1? That's when they're printing money to pay for the services of the government. Japan is printing money to buy oil for its economy. This is where this is going. This is insane. And what this means for Americans, that when interest rates return to normal, and they will, the amount of debt service is going to crowd out all other expenditures. The federal government is going to crowd out defense spending. It's going to crowd out research and development. It's going to crowd out needed safety net programs that we do need. And when you max out the credit card, it also stifles the economy, as we've seen in Japan. It prevents job growth. It prevents wages from going up. So this green eye shade stuff with the debt affects regular Americans. It affects working Americans. So again, I'm a Republican, okay? Right. So Republicans, if you look at the things that Republicans stand for, one of the things that's across the spectrum of our party, from right to moderate, we all agree that fiscal sanity is a cornerstone of Republicanism. And the incumbent against which I'm running, Kelly-Att and Baggy Hassan, both agree that we should continue this absolutely, and have voted this way, for this fiscally reckless policy that's going to drive America into fiscal chaos.
So what would you do? Is it tax increases? Is it spending cuts?
We don't need tax increases. We need to cut spending. We need to shrink government down.
Where would we cut? I mean, a lot of spending, I understand it, is non-discretionary.
Yeah.
Well, how do we tap into that?
We're going to have to go across the entire budget, and we're going to have to simplify the tax code. We're going to have to take out tax breaks that are crony capitalist stuff that people have put in there. There's about $1 trillion a year of what are called tax expenditures. So our budget deficit over the next 10 years is about $1 trillion a year. We got to find about $1 trillion a year. That's a quarter of the budget, okay, right now. So we've got to look at tax expenditures. We've got to look at pork in the military. We've got to look at things like the F-35. We've got to look at the land-based leg of the nuclear triad. Do we need this? And we've got to take the savings there, and we've got to do that in areas where our military is weak. For example, cyber warfare. Pay for the VA system for vets.
So I got to cut you off there.
Many more things.
But we are going to stay with this issue of the military. So please keep with us.